Vader Immortal, an award-winning, if forgettable attempt for Star Wars to cash in on the VR video game craze. Remember when they thought VR was going to replace not just traditional video games, but computers in general? Those were the days. But anyway, you know what isn't forgettable? The main character's ship in Vader Immortal, the Windfall, at least to me. Ever since discovering the ship while browsing Wikipedia, I have been obsessed with this triangular little guy. And I've wanted to make a video about it to spread the obsession to you. There's just one problem. I can't. The Windfall's Wikipedia page is one paragraph. Its official databank page is a single sentence. And with 5 years separating us from its release date, I doubt that is ever going to change. So today I'm going to put a new spin on my ship breakdown videos and write my own information for this ship. I'm Joey from Radio Free Coruscant, and I made lore for the Windfall because Disney isn't going to. Design. The first thing we have to come up with is the name. I determined while examining it that it reminded me a lot of the Stinger Mantis from Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor. Both ships have a similar size and shape of cockpit with an angle for easily viewing the ground and a lot of glass in general for a very commanding view. Both also have similarly shaped moving wings and a similar design language overall. It's nothing conclusive, but they look more alike than most other ships said to be by the same manufacturers. CEC's VCX-100 and YT-1300 have about as much in common as the Windfall and the Mantis do. So with the manufacturer decided, Latero Spaceworks, I had to pick out a model name. The Mantis is officially an S-161 Stinger XL, so I opted for a similar naming scheme for the Windfall. I chose W150 for the model number, as the ship looks kind of like a W from the right angle, and it's the first letter of Windfall, and 150 sounds similar to 161. Stinger became Striker because both are aggressive descriptors that would appeal to prospective buyers. One can only assume that the XL in Stinger XL is a size rating, so I made the Striker an L as it appears to be slightly smaller. Essentially, I wanted a name for it that would sound like you'd find it in the same Latero Spaceworks catalog, right next to the S-161. The Latero Spaceworks W150 Striker L was a medium-sized triangular yacht. It was marketed to businessmen and travelers who wanted a blend of both luxury accommodations and storage space. It had a boarding ramp at the rear below 2 round and 2 linear engines. This let passengers into the main body of the ship, which was a large box connected to a tapering front section. At the front of the ship, it had a cockpit consisting of 2 differently angled canopies. The ship could be flown from either side of the cockpit, giving Striker owners the option of which view they preferred. The ship had 3 large, robust landing gear located at the rear and middle of the underside. At the ship's widest point, it had a pair of narrow, bent wings. These folded vertical for landing and were open for flight. Like most winged ships, these contained heat exchangers, shield projectors, and communications antennae. The top of the Striker held additional heat vanes for the hyperdrive and main engines. Ahead of these was a maintenance access area, and further ahead was a dorsal hatch for the crew to access the roof. Next to this was a triangular rectenna, and further out on each side were additional maintenance wells. Specifications. It was very difficult to determine what size the Windfall is in Vader Immortal. It doesn't appear next to any other ship, and we only see it from the outside twice as far as I could tell from the playthrough I watched. But we can get a general sense of scale from the stormtroopers and AT-ST near it in this hangar, and we can compare the size of ZO-E3 to this roof hatch, and that to the size overall. Making the hatch roughly 1 meter in diameter gives the ship a size of 30 meters long by 25 meters wide and 18.5 tall in landing mode, or 42 wide and 9 tall in flight. For the other stats, we can take inspiration from other similar ships. The W-150 had a Class 1 hyperdrive and a top atmospheric speed of 850 kilometers per hour. Its crew consisted of 1 pilot and 1 co-pilot, but it could be flown by just one with ease. It could carry 6 passengers and 10 tons of cargo, plus 6 months of provisions. It was relatively expensive at 200,000 credits, but like most Latero Spaceworks ships, it was well worth the price. History. The W-150 Striker was introduced to the market shortly after the end of the Clone Wars in 16 BBY. While most of them had largely uneventful lives, one was involved in an unusual event with Darth Vader in 1 BBY. The Windfall was a stolen W-150 owned by an unknown smuggler and his droid co-pilot ZO-E3. After stealing a shipment of spice from the Hutts, the crew of the Windfall charted a course that ran past Mustafar. An interdictor cruiser pulled the ship out of hyperspace there, and the smuggler was arrested. However, the smuggler escaped Imperial custody before fleeing the planet aboard the Windfall to follow a star map given to them by the Mustafarians in search of ancient treasure. W-150s remained on the market until 20 ABY, when it was replaced by the W-202 Seeker. The Striker was always outshone by the more elegant and eye-catching S-161 Stinger, but it remained popular with collectors for decades after its retirement. And that's everything there isn't to know about the Windfall from Vader Immortal, aka the Latero W-150 Striker L-class yacht. I know I gave Disney a bit of a hard time in the title and intro for not giving us any information about this ship, but with how little of it we see in the game, I don't blame them. There's a new Star Wars Encyclopedia coming out this winter that's supposed to have a bunch of ships in it, so if the Windfall is one of them, I might make an update video with the real lore, but I doubt it will be in there. Let me know what you thought of my take on this ship in the comments. I'd also like to hear what you think of the video concept in general. There are hundreds of ships in both Legends and canon that have very little, if any, information on them, and while most of them are just little scribbles in the background of one comic panel, there are a few others like the Windfall that could make for an interesting video. What ship would you like to see me expand upon? Did I go into enough detail, or should I write more for the next one? Are you subscribed to the channel? Leave a comment down below. Anyway, I will see you next week. RFC.